Hello all, this is Beth Hayes again. I'm here with Sharon Quinn of Window to the World Publishing. We're talking about her trilogy that she has just published the first volume of, and she's going to explain to you the structure of the first volume.
Thank you, Beth. I really appreciate you running the camera today and for all the help that you're always bringing to this project, because writing a trilogy of this nature has been a huge project. And one of the things that has made it an interesting project is the fact that it's dealing with a new paradigm. And that presented a unique editing challenges, unique writing challenges, and oh my God, unique marketing challenges. Because new paradigms literally mean nobody has been talking about this particular frame of reference and the organization of the thought and its potentials. Everything is a new paradigm when it's new. For example, when airplanes were first started being flown and experimented with, that was a new paradigm. If you would have said, hey, you want to get on an airplane? Nobody would know what the heck you were talking about. And when the Wright brothers first started experimenting with it, everybody thought, what are they doing? It was a new paradigm. Look where we are today. We don't even think of airplanes as a new paradigm. So all progress, all change means a new paradigms come into our world and being, and they always challenge us. The biggest challenge that they put us through is we don't like change a whole lot. Our psyche likes to just keep it in the box because it feels comfortable. And we know words like box thinking, comfort zone, don't rock the boat. There's many different ways in which we kind of get messages that say, let's not change.
So Sharon,
yes,
tell me how you start out your book so that we can understand how you're going to treat this new paradigm.
Thank you. And that's a good idea. Beth, you're always so practical. So the most practical thing to understand about the structure of how the book eventually came to be was there was an insertion of a prequel and a preface and a frontispiece diagram, and then we started getting into the chapters of actually going into the self-gnosis paradigm as the introduction. So that seems like 3 introductions. Are we crazy or what? Well, when you're talking something brand new, there's a lot of things you needed to be acquainted with. One, you needed to know a little bit about me. Who the heck am I? Was I just making this up? Was it flying off my hip? Was it coming from experience? How sincere am I? What's my viewpoint? You needed to know a little bit of that. And yet, because self-gnosis is a communion with presence, and that actually means the ego, mind, has been completely made transparent, which as we go through the self-gnosis talks and through the trilogy itself, that will become a very common understanding. Right now it's like, what did she just say? It sounds good, but what does that mean? How do you get there? We'll get to all that. But right now, what's important here is this means the ego mind is not running the front of this idea. It's not presenting this idea. It's not a reorganization, rethought from an ego perspective. It's actually coming from the presence that is breathing our breath and beating our heart. So the prequel was to give you up front a little bit of idea about how the book was going to be written, and there was a lot of setup. I had to put a lot of setup into the book because everybody deserves this paradigm. I don't care if you're the first coming to your first thoughts about a spiritual life. I don't care if you have been through 20 different religious experiences and heartbreaks over, just the average search that has just let you down again and again and again. It doesn't matter. And when I say I don't care, it doesn't mean I don't care about your suffering, about your search. What I'm saying is irrelevant where you're coming from. Spent a great deal of time structuring this book so that you could come as a very old soul, a very new soul, and somebody who had pain, or somebody who was just coming from disappointment, or somebody who was just coming into it wide-eyed and full of innocence and saying, this is attractive to me. I would like to look at a spiritual life. So The first part of the book is about 50, 60 pages of just how the book is set up, why the book is set up the way it is, and guide you through a lot of laying of little stones and nuggets across the path. It's set up to create a critical mass, too. So a very old soul might find the beginning of the book, well, not a whole lot of anything new, but you will get insight into myself, my viewpoints, how I came to this, how the book is written, and different writing conventions that I had to use so that you could see a new paradigm. The idea wasn't I wanted to create a ton of new terminology, because that could get kind of cultish after a while. The idea was to have something that could literally flow into the consciousness of the rest of humanity and allow us to come together in a more cohesive way. So while we don't have a good set of words for what we're talking about, we do have to start somewhere. So what I've done is I've also included at the back of the book a glossary, and not just a little glossary, but an explanatory type glossary that goes into details so that you can understand the words that I'm using, that some of them are common, but what I mean when I use them very clearly, and some other words that are kind of new, and why they had to be created, because there was just nothing we could kind of expand and bring into it. Clarity is of utmost importance. And I also included an index, a 33-page cross-reference index, so that you could look not only at the table of contents to see the basic structure of the book and its contents, but you could also go to the end of the book and look through the cross-referencing index and educate yourself. You could see the topics, you could see the basic ideas, its premise, and you are suggested at least 3 times through these introductory phases to read the glossary itself, because it's a mini lesson. It is an education itself. I hope that this helps you understand the seriousness of this book. It's intense thought that was put into making this book a good reading experience for you, no matter where you're coming at this book. It might have been good. Some people might say, hey, you should have wrote a book for just beginners, the innocent, the older soul. Hey, that's kind of a cool idea, and yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on that. But it needed to get out. It needed to get out now. It needs to get out whole. And it was more important that anybody be able to come to it, because that'll be part of drawing us all together into a union. That's love. Love motivated the writing of this book, and intelligence is what you're going to get here. Divine, aware intelligence, which is who we really are, as you'll find out.
So Sharon, your book is available on Amazon?
Oh, yes. She's so practical. Thank you, Beth. The first book is called Preface to Your Eternity, Unearth Your Sacred Knowing. It's the SELFGnosis Trilogy, which is a catalyst carving a new coastline in consciousness. And beautifully, as I saw presence, this is written from presence, not from ego, as I mentioned earlier, I saw this paradigm, a catalyst carving a new coastline in consciousness, this beautiful metaphor being written from book 1 into book 2 and through book 3, and exploring the depths of what presence and the divine intends for all of us, and using this particular metaphor. And I myself found myself looking back and going, whoa, that is way beautiful.
And also look for Sharon's book on Kindle.
Yes, we just got the Kindle out. What a trip that was. And I want you to know that if you look at the preview inside, Amazon agrees, it doesn't look like the actual Kindle. They were going through some kind of difficulty. I don't know if it's because it was 500 and some pages, which becomes 800 and some pages in a Kindle, but it was showing paragraphs and a lot of things looking like they're centered when they're not. The Kindle was spent a good 2 months reformatting it to try to give you as close to the experience of the book as I could possibly do with my talents and skills. And quite frankly, I'm amazed how it turned out.
Thank you, Sharon. Come join us in this wonderful reading.
Thank you, Beth. You've really brightened my day with all your help.